So with that, we'll move on to the third panelist, whose name is Jennifer Scheer. And Jennifer has a BS in biochemistry with a concentration in forensic sciences from Suffolk University, and is now a criminalist in the Boston Police Department and involved in the criminalistic section.
I'm going to sit too, because I can talk pretty loud. So I started my education at Suffolk actually as a chemistry major, and then my first and second year there, they had developed a forensic science concentration in the biochemistry program. So I actually switched my major when I was in my first year, because I found that forensics was interesting to me, but in reality I really had no idea about what forensics actually was, other than what I saw on TV or you know, what I heard about in my classes. I would really say the first time I got an actual look at it was when I did my internship. I would really encourage internships, or even seeing if you can get a tour of the lab, shadow someone around for the day. I always knew that I wanted to go into science. I was also interested in the law enforcement side of things. So I kind of left out where I actually enjoy what I do now. But it was really almost a shot in the dark whether or not I would enjoy it. Right now, I've worked in the lab for about 5 years. When I started, I didn't have any experience in the science field. I got a technologist position. So basically I was cleaning glassware, making chemicals for all the other scientists in the lab, filing files, paperwork, which is pretty much what you do as an intern too. And then probably after about 6 to 8 months of training, I started finally doing casework on my own. I started with breaking and entering cases, and most of the time it would just be, you know, a swab that came in from the crime scene that the detective thought was blood. So I would perform chemical testing to see if it actually is blood. And that's really what I started doing all of my cases on. I also now will screen evidence from all types of criminal cases, assault and batteries, homicides, breaking and enterings, like I said. Really any case that the city of Boston responds to, we work in the lab. I look at all of the evidence that comes in, we examine them, see if there's any biological fluids present. I also perform serial number restorations on firearms. So if a number is obliterated, we can restore that number. I perform distance determinations with gunshot residue. So trying to determine the distance between a target or something that has been shot and the muzzle of a firearm. And that is more of the chemistry side, I guess. In our lab, there's multiple sections. The chemistry side of our lab is the trace evidence section. That's not the section that I'm in. They look at hairs and fibers, all paints, do chemical analysis of fluids or unknown substances that come in. We have the criminalistic section, which is the one that I'm in, which is basically general evidence. We basically look at everything that comes in and triage it and send it to the different sections that need to examine them. And then we also have our DNA section, which is pure biology. All they do is process DNA all day. They don't look at any other evidence in the lab. We also respond to crime scenes on an as-needed basis. We do have a crime scene response unit that's all officers. But if they need assistance, we'll go help them. And then I also testify in court on forensics. So any case that I touch in the lab, I could be subpoenaed to testify for that case. So, you know, not only the science skills are important, but also being able to successfully communicate what you did, why you did it. All of those things are really important in forensics. And I think that, you know, having some sort of public speaking class or participating in presentations at different conferences can really help set you apart from other people who are applying, because there's such a flood of people trying to get into forensics now because it's such a popular field.
Keep going.
Okay. I can tell you, so one of the, I guess, areas when I really knew that I was interested in forensics, when I was younger.
You were younger?
Yeah, when I was younger. Even younger than now. Hard to believe, I know. I was really into detective work as a little kid. So I started to, stop believing in the tooth fairy. I had a sneaking suspicion that it was probably my mom who kept sticking money under my pillow. So I wrote a letter to the tooth fairy asking her all of these questions, and took a handwriting sample from my mom and compared the two. Unfortunately, at the time, I didn't get the sample until I got the sample before I wrote the letter. So, of course, she had already figured out what was going on and made my dad write the answers. So I've kind of always been interested in the, detective side of things, too.
Very nice. Very nice. Super. I mean, she's really giving you the whole picture, of what a person just entering into the profession is going to do if you want to work in a laboratory, and what the options are.
I just wanted to say one thing.
Go ahead.
Eventually, your parents stop putting money under your pillow. Then you have to get a job.
This is not true. This is not true.
That was my bigger shock. It was more so than the money wasn't there.
Wait a minute. This is not 100% true. My son just bought a house. What do you think put the down payment down on the house? Okay. Let me ask you a question or two, if I may. Since you are still at the bench, and Adam has addressed this to some extent, must a forensic scientist always remain at the bench, or will you have the opportunity for career paths to allow for more administration, management, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, everyone for the most part starts at the bench, at least in, a traditional crime lab. And, like these guys said earlier too, basically the degree that you have can basically tell you what level you can get to. Like for any of those supervisory positions, you need to have a master's degree. But that can also be compensated with years of service if you don't have a master's degree. But you can also, there are other positions in the lab other than just sitting at the bench all day. We have a quality manager who basically, it's all administrative. They, go through all of the procedures that we have in the laboratory and make sure that, we're doing what we say we're doing. There are different organizations that have to do with forensics too. There's ASCLAD Lab, so the American Society of Crime Laboratory Directors, which has an accreditation program for crime labs, where they're making sure that you're following national standards and basically you're doing what you say that you're doing. And there's research opportunities in forensics and at other schools, consulting positions.